He wasn't 147. Yeah. I said, but he's strong, and he got a mentality. He's like, Shannon, I'm going to get him. He said, Shannon, I'm going to get him. He said, watch. He said, watch. He said, it's boxing. I'm going to get hit, but he going to get hit too. And I promise you, he going to get hit more than I get hit.
Something absolutely wild is happening in boxing right now. Because while everybody thinks this story is about Errol Spence Jr. returning to fight Tim Tszyu, fans are starting to wonder if that's actually the cover story for a much bigger mystery unfolding right in front of our eyes. And trust me, you are going to want to stay until the end, because the deeper you look into the situation, the stranger it gets.
I mean, that ain't what that is. It's Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu. He's no caliber of his father. Of his daddy. So he can't even compare himself to his pops. He fighting me, he trying to get out his daddy's shadow. So we'll see come July 26th, can he get out that shadow? I mean, it's a war, man. I'm not here to just shake and hug my opponents and all that. Like, it's a war, it's what it is. I'm coming into his hometown, coming to his territory, and I'm looking to take over. So I mean, why would he want to shake my hand? He's coming to destroy me, you know, coming to knock me off and retire me. You know, I'm coming to beat him and show him that, you know, he's not up to anything of my pedigree. So it's gonna be a great fight, and I know that I will become victorious.
On the surface, it sounds simple. Errol Spence is back. Tim Tszyu wants to make a statement. 2 fighters, 1 fight, end of story. Except, that's not the story people are talking about anymore. Because according to online speculation, the real question isn't whether Errol Spence can beat Tim Tszyu. The real question is whether anybody truly knows what version of Errol Spence is showing up. And that's where things get messy.
Being a guy that chases the toughest and baddest challenges out there, and when I got presented with Errol, who's undeniably one of the best fighters of this decade, I didn't hesitate, and I straight away accepted. I accepted not to compete, but I accepted because I knew that the victory is only on my mind. I know the challenge that is put in front of me. I'm going to work super hard, and I'm coming for it all. And thank you again. Victory.
Really messy. See, for years, Errol Spence was boxing's boogeyman. The man walked through champions like he was collecting receipts. Sean Porter, handled. Danny Garcia, handled. Mikey Garcia, handled. Yordenis Ugas, handled. The man was moving through the division like he owned the building. Then suddenly everything stopped. The momentum, the activity, the mystery.
I feel like it helped me mentally. It helped me physically, gave me some time to recover, and just enjoy life, enjoy the spoils of my wins, and just being with family, being with friends. If you watch my Instagram, you see me traveling, you know, enjoying my kids, having fun. And people kept asking me, are you coming back? When are you coming back? And I told them, I know when it's ready. I know when I'm ready to come back. And I knew one day that, you know, I wake up and I decide to come back. And if it didn't happen, then I wouldn't come back to boxing. So I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to put on a great show. I can't wait for July 26th to be fighting in Australia, to be fighting in front of his fans. I look forward to disappointing them, putting on a great show, putting on another great performance, and showing y'all why they nicknamed me the Truth.
Tim Tszyu also took a subtle shot at Errol Spence's
started growing. And now, after years away, he's returning directly into the fire against Tim Tszyu. No warm-up, no easy night, no tune-up, just straight into the chaos. And fans immediately started asking the question nobody can answer. Why? Why would somebody take a fight this dangerous after such a long break? Unless, and stay with me here.
DC and IBF champion, all 4 belts on the line. The winner will be the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. We get it. That is not why this is an epic fight. I've seen some fights before. I've seen fights for the title and all.
For me, Errol Spence is sort of in that generation, and that's what I want to do and expect to do against him.
coming to this next generation of fighters. So, yeah, that's...
Unless Errol Spence knows something, everybody else doesn't. Breaking news. Well, not actual breaking news, but according to fan discussions online, some people believe Spence's confidence is almost suspiciously high. Every interview sounds calm, every appearance sounds relaxed, every statement sounds like somebody who already knows how the movie ends. And that's making people nervous, because usually when fighters come back after a long layoff, they talk about testing themselves. Errol Spence isn't talking like that. He's talking like somebody who already bought the trophy case.
Definitely. I feel like the styles match up, mesh very well, and you ain't got to retract on that. You said you know what you said. Tim is the biggest of names. You know he cool, but he's not the biggest of names. And
for main event, he's the biggest of names.
I mean, he wasn't the best that I could get, but I'm not crazy, but I bought nothing. So.
Yeah.
You know, I was looking at Fundora. I'm looking at top names. Like, yeah, I fight him. Like, cause I'm the type of guy I really don't believe in ring rust. If I look good in the gym for 9-10 weeks, why I can't look good in the ring in the fight? Like, what makes the difference? That's the mental thing. Yeah. That a lot of people like. It's like guys, you know, this man, they good as hell. In sparring and practice and that, but when the lights turn on, they fold. And I just feel like I'm different. You know, I feel like I look better outside. I look better in the ring and not in the gym. And I just feel like that come fight night, I'm gonna show everybody that, you know, ring rust is not a thing. It's more of a mental thing more than anything. And that's what people can't get over, and that's why they need a tune-up fight to get over that mental hump. It's not a thing for me. Ring rust is.
Meanwhile, Tim Tszyu is standing there looking at all this attention like, excuse me? Am I invisible? And honestly, you can understand his frustration, because while everyone debates whether the old Errol Spence is back, Tim Tszyu keeps reminding everybody that he's still the guy standing in front of him. And according to reports, he's treating this fight like the opportunity of a lifetime. Not because he's fighting a former champion, because he's fighting a former champion with a giant question mark hanging over his head. And that's where the plot twist arrives. Because the more Tim talks, the more confident he sounds. The more confident he sounds, the more fans start wondering if he sees something nobody else sees. Suddenly, every interview becomes evidence. Every quote becomes a clue. Every training video becomes a detective case. One side says Spence looks sharp. The other side says appearances can be deceiving. One side says ring rust is a myth. The other side says ring rust is undefeated. And somewhere in the middle sits Tim Tszyu, smiling like a man who just heard a secret nobody else knows. But wait, it gets worse. Because then another twist entered the chat. Australia. That's right. This fight isn't happening in Spence's back.
Go out bad and not try to come back, because that's what boxers do. I know he took a lot of things into consideration. He even told me when I spoke to a few people about it, and that was a good thing. But I'm glad he made the conscious decision to return. And I think it's a smart return, because it's also against a guy who was on the way up there, who made it to the top, but had some struggles. And now he's on the incline trying to get back up too. So it's two guys trying to get back up. I think it's a great situation. I got to say that I love about Errol Spence is that Errol don't want no easy fights. Errol don't want to fight guys that are nobody.
He AKA somebody. No tune-up.
No,
he don't want no
tune-up. He wants challenges. You understand me? He wants challenges. And for him to challenge a person like Tim Tszyu, when Tim Tszyu has been regularly fighting for the last 3 years. He's been not doing much. That says a lot about Errol, but that tells you exactly how much fight is still left in Errol. Errol is a guy who's always coming to the party to dance. He don't have time to play no games, and you got to love that about Errol.
He's always been that guy, even in the amateurs, you know, and I've always had respect for Errol Spence because he's a real fighter. And Errol Spence knows himself. So the respect is always going to be there for him, and we will unpack this fight as we get closer because it's not until July 25th, but I'm excited to see him back. I'm excited to see him talking this talk. I would have just as much respect for him if he walked away and was able to sort of deal with them voices that we got to deal with as fighters and overcome that to say, nah, I'm good. I've done enough. But I equally respect him for taking this chance and taking this risk because it's a big risk. But oh boy, if he can pull it off, if he can come back and look anything close like himself, psychologically, mentally, physically, it's going to be a beautiful thing in the sport because when Errol Spence is boxing.
Yard, it's happening in Tszyu territory. His crowd, his atmosphere, his energy, his moment. Suddenly, this isn't just a comeback fight anymore. It's a road trip into enemy territory. And fans started connecting dots that may or may not even exist. Online speculation exploded. Some say the crowd pressure could become a factor. Others say champions don't care about crowds. Then somebody points out that Spence has always embraced difficult challenges. Then somebody else says that's exactly what makes this dangerous. And before you know it, the entire internet is arguing with itself. Meanwhile, Tim Tszyu is quietly training, quietly preparing, quietly watching everyone talk about Errol Spence. And if that doesn't sound like the setup for a shocking upset, I don't know what does. But then, another twist. Because suddenly former fighters started weighing in. Roy Jones Jr. says don't forget how dangerous Spence can be. Mikey Garcia says the fight...
Yeah, I feel like he's going to be better than he was in the past. And what I mean by that is, first round knockout coming soon. And Tim Tszyu is going to sleep, man. The boy ain't got nothing for him. But dude from Australia, my boy, he coming to Australia just to give him the work, you feel me? But back to what I was saying, I just feel like Errol's
high contact fighters in terms of their styles. Tim comes right at you. He's really in front of you like he's shown in his last couple of fights. And Errol's a Terminator. He comes forward and rips with both hands. He's a combination puncher. I think he's actually going to feel better at 54, not whittling himself down to 147. So all in all, I do like this fight because both guys have enough question marks that you really don't know exactly what's going to happen on fight night. Tim Tszyu and Errol Spence, or Errol Spence and Tim Tszyu, depending on how you want to bill it. Probably go Errol Spence first. But it's I actually like the fight. It's a fight where I think there's a lot of question marks for both guys. And if Errol was coming in going right into a fight with like a Virgil Ortiz or someone who was streaking at 150, or like a Sebastian Fundera, for example, coming off the layoff, I would be a little more apprehensive than I am with this. Because Tim Tszyu is a guy who his life has been turned upside down. His boxing life has been turned upside down in the last couple of years. From going from a budding superstar champion looking to make a real name for himself in the States to taking 2 really bad stoppage losses to looking less than stellar in some of his comeback fights, to a guy who's been switching training camps, losing touch with family members. There's a lot going on brewing under the surface of Tim Tszyu at this moment. And with Errol, he's just a big question mark. The guy hasn't been in the ring in almost 3 years. His last fight was a really bad loss to Errol Spence. There was questions about his health in terms of the beating he took from Crawford, but also the car accidents that he had many years ago, in which he doesn't seem like he's that
incredibly close. Chris Algieri says there are question marks everywhere. Brian Norman Jr. predicts a dominant Spence performance. And now nobody agrees on anything. One expert says left, another says right. One predicts domination, another predicts disaster. It's like asking 5 weather reporters if it's going to rain and somehow getting 10 different answers, which brings us back to Errol Spence himself. Because according to his own comments, this version of Errol Spence might not even be the same person fans remember. He talks about peace, family, clarity, being present, living in the moment. And that's when the story takes another unexpected turn. Because fans expected angry comeback Errol. Instead, they got calm Errol. And weirdly enough, that might be scarier. Think about it. The old Errol Spence was dangerous, but what if the new Errol Spence is focused? What if the years away didn't weaken him?
I'm a world champion, and we know if we have a work cut out for us. We just know that Errol's going to be in the best shape that he can possibly get in, and with the experience and everything that he's been through in his life as a fighter, we feel comfortable in going to Australia to get this thing done. And the fans are really going to be the winners of this. So look forward
to where, you know, I'm always around my family, you know, just finding different hobbies that I like other than boxing, and realizing that I'm okay without boxing, and just being 100% there for my family, and just enjoying life outside of boxing. Just getting time to recover too, just getting time to recover mentally, recover physically, and just enjoying life, man. Enjoying life, enjoying the moment, living in the moment, and not just thinking about what's next all the time. I feel like that's a bad habit that I had of myself. Like, even after winning my first world title, like I never stepped in the moment. I always was thinking about what's next, or who I'm gonna fight next, or what I'm gonna do next. But during this time off, I was just more in the moment, getting more clarity, spending more time with my family, and just the main thing, just enjoying life and just living in the moment and being present. Being present is the biggest thing of all. Just being present with my kids, being present, you know, with my girl, being present with my fiance, being present with my mother, father, and everything.
They rebuilt him. Suddenly, the entire narrative flips upside down. The layoff goes from liability to advantage. The inactivity becomes recovery. The absence becomes preparation. And that's exactly why nobody knows what happens next. Breaking news. Once again, not actual breaking news, but fans have started floating a theory that this fight isn't really about Tim Tszyu or Errol Spence at all. It's about control of the future narrative. Stay with me. If Tim wins, people will say a new generation has officially arrived. If Spence wins, people will say the old guard isn't finished yet. In other words, this isn't just a fight, it's a referendum, a changing of the guard, a battle between questions and answers. And every day that passes somehow creates even more questions. Then we arrive at the training footage. Ah yes, the magical training footage. The place where every fighter looks unbeatable. Tim looks explosive. Spence looks explosive. Tim looks fast. Spence looks fast. Tim looks focused. Spence looks focused. According to training videos, both men appear ready to conquer the planet, which is incredibly helpful if your goal is learning absolutely nothing. Yet fans continue analyzing every second. Somebody slows down footage. Somebody zooms in. Somebody claims they...
Just so happy having Errol Spence back. He's already done so much in this game. Being a unified welterweight champion, the WBC, WBA, and IBF world champion. So it's great having him back. He's got big wins over some great names like Sean Porter, Kell Brook, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, Yordanis Ugas. So it's just great having him back. I'm personally very happy, and I think that it's going to be a big night for him, big night for us. And
Tim Tszyu always turns up to fight. He's shown here on many occasions what it actually means to jump in the ring. He's a warrior, and I know that he wants to get back to the top. And the only way to get back to the top is to beat Errol Spence.
Spotted a weakness? Somebody else claims they spotted greatness. Suddenly a 3-second clip becomes a national investigation. And while everybody debates shadows and angles and body language, the clock keeps ticking toward fight night. But here comes the biggest twist of all. The twist nobody saw coming. What if both sides are right? What if Tim Tszyu really is the future? What if Errol Spence really is still elite? What if this entire debate has been built on a false choice? Because according to some fans, the reason this matchup feels so fascinating is that both fighters are standing at the exact same crossroads. Tim is trying to prove he belongs among boxing's elite. Spence is trying to prove he never left. They're chasing different goals while fighting the same battle, validation. And suddenly the story transforms again. This isn't a comeback story. It isn't a takeover story. It's an identity story. Tim Tszyu is fighting to become something. Errol Spence is fighting to remind people what he already was. And that realization changes everything. Because now every quote sounds different. Every prediction sounds different. Every training session sounds different. Every stare down suddenly carries weight. Every smile hides tension. Every confident statement feels like a gamble. And as the fight gets closer, one terrifying possibility continues growing louder. What if the winner isn't the fighter who punches harder? What if the winner is simply the fighter who understands himself better? Because that's the secret hiding underneath all the noise. Not power, not speed, not pressure, belief. And suddenly all those years away, all those interviews, all those comments about family, clarity, recovery, and purpose start looking less like side stories and more like the actual story. Which brings us to the final twist. The twist that completely reframes everything you've heard. What if the biggest mystery isn't whether Errol Spence can beat Tim Tszyu? What if the biggest mystery is whether the version of Errol Spence everyone keeps talking about even exists anymore? Because maybe the old big fish is gone. Maybe Tim Tszyu knows it. Maybe Errol Spence knows it. Maybe that's why this fight feels so unpredictable. Not because we're waiting to see the old Errol return, but because we're about to meet somebody entirely new. And if that's true, then every prediction, every debate, every argument, every confident opinion floating around the boxing world might be built on an assumption that no longer applies. So let me ask you this, is Tim Tszyu about to stop a comeback before it starts? Or is the boxing world about to discover that the most dangerous version of Errol Spence was the one nobody saw coming?